Hello everybody. In this video, I'm going to address the question, what's a Punnett square? First of all, a Punnett square looks like this. And depending on how much you've studied biology or genetics before, you may or may not have seen this. You may or may not remember some things about this square, but I'm going to cover a lot of the basics in this video. First of all, the alleles of one parent go here at the top. And we'll separate the alleles out. One goes on top of that first column, the other goes on top of that second column. The alleles of the other parent go here. And one of them goes next to the first row, and the other allele goes next to the second row. The possible genotypes for their children go here in the middle. So now you're all wondering, can I make my own Punnett squares? The answer is yes. Let's do an example where you know the genotypes of both parents. So the genotype of parent 1 will be capital B, and we'll place them to the left. The genotype of the second parent will be capital B, little b, and we'll put those on top. Now, let's begin to fill out the smaller squares one at a time. Just like every person is a combination of their parents, and every puppy is a combination of their two dog parents, each small square is a combination of two alleles. One from the parent in that row, and one from the other parent in that column. If there's a combination of capital and lowercase letters, the capital letter goes first. So in this square, we're going to take the capital B from the top, and it is in combination with the capital B from the left. In this square, we'll take the little b from the top and the capital B from the left. We will also follow our rule about putting the capital letter first. And then our third square, and lastly our fourth square. Now we are all done making the square. But why would we make the square in the first place? What can a Punnett square tell you? At the very least, for any two parents, a Punnett square will show you what genotypes are possible for their children. And if you look more closely, you can see even more information than that. Imagine that you see a Punnett square that was already made. You can determine what alleles are being used in the genetics problem. Like in this example, we see the letter B is being used, and the capital B represents the dominant allele, and the lowercase b represents the recessive allele. We can also see the genotypes of both parents. One parent, you'll find their two alleles from their genotype on the left. And for the other parent, you'll find the two alleles for their genotype on the top. A Punnett square can also tell you the genotypes of the children that are possible between those two parents. Each smaller square represents one possibility, and you can even tally them up to determine the chance of having each possibility. If we're using capital B and lowercase b, there are three theoretical possibilities. You can have capital B, you can have capital B, or you can have little b. In this specific cross, the only children possible that we see are capital B, and capital B, little b. Now, if we tally them up, we'll see that capital B occurs 2 out of the 4 times. And 2 out of 4 means there is a 50% chance of having a child with the genotype capital B. The same here goes for capital B, little b. That occurs 2 out of 4 times, and that means there is a 50% chance of having a child with that genotype. And lastly, because we're very thorough biology students, we wrote that little b occurs 0 out of the 4 times. So there is a 0% chance that these two parents will have a child with the little b genotype. And lastly, for this video, a Punnett square can tell us the phenotypes of the children that are possible for these two parents. And we'll count them up in a way that's similar to what we did for genotypes on the previous slide. But this time, we'll have to combine the genotypes for big B, and big B, little b. Both of those genotypes will show the same phenotype. They're going to show the capital B trait, or the dominant trait. In this example, those two genotypes, either or, occurs 4 out of 4 times. So there is a 100% chance of having children with the capital B trait for these two parents. The lowercase b trait, or the recessive trait, it will only show for children with the genotype little b. And we wrote it out because we are thorough biology students. The genotype little b occurs 0 out of the 4 times. So for these two parents, none of their children will show the lowercase b trait, or recessive trait. That's all there is for this video. I hope it is helpful.